Warm welcome on behalf of the president of our university to all of you, our guests, our colleagues and students, and welcome to the third annual Data Analytics Conference. As Professor Macken mentioned, you will be hearing a lot about what's really latest in data analytics and how the data analytics is changing our world, marketing, business, banking, education as well. I remember I hosted Garry Kasparov a few years ago. He's a chess grandmaster, and he played chess against IBM's Deep Blue some 22 years ago. So he won and he lost. And he was one of those who really appreciated how data analytics is important and how it is changing the way how we think about the world and, most importantly, how we think about ourselves. Now, these conferences, they started 3 years ago, and they were put together by a passionate team of people that I admire. There were 4 students that started it all, Noor and Tom and Konrad and Shakti, together with 2 professors, Professor Macken and Professor Antene Ayonzo. They created something that indeed is changing how we think about data analytics, at least in this place. And I remember meeting them about a year ago in the president's office, and it was an extraordinary meeting because when they left, we looked at ourselves with the president and said, look, we see in them what we seek in ourselves. It's passion, professional,ism, integrity. So thank you so very much to the 6 of you who put it all together, and we will be appreciating the future iterations of these conferences as well. Now, since they've given me a bit of an extra time this morning, I wanted to share with you a few things that I'm passionate about, and actually what I want to do is to talk about some megatrends and future skills in as it relates to higher education. But before I do so, I wanted to comment on one thing that changed my life, so to speak, because if you look back in your own lives, there is always a breakthrough that changes the way how you think, how you feel, how you consider yourself in this entire world. In my case, it was an opportunity to go to space. So I went on something, it's called a parabolic flight, or it's a zero-gravity flight. What you do is you go up. In our case, it was almost 38 kilometers, so space technically starts at 40. So you go up there at 6 gravity forces. You can't even blink your eye because it's so very heavy, and then once you reach the altitude, they switch engines off. This is in our case it was the Airbus, a bit wider than normal, and it was all foamed inside. So you can see it. Once you reach the altitude, when they switch engines off, you fall. You're going to, of course, fall down. Depending on the trajectory, it may take 20 seconds, it may take 60, 70 seconds, and so on. Where you're falling down, you are weightless, because the weight of your body is much lighter than the weight of the aircraft. So you are weightless, and we were doing quite a few experiments. It's called parabolic flight because you follow the parabol, and we did 28 of those parabols. Needless to say, your stomach is trying to jump out of this way or the other way, and it's difficult on some people. So those flights are also called a vomit comet. I will not comment on that and, in more detail, but what it does is if you're up there, you see the curvature of the Earth, you see how small really, really we are, and and then you think about your role, especially your role as an academic, in a different way. How important it is to focus on the new wave of young talent, or those of you that we are hosting today. Now, so a few trends that we are seeing more and more in our academic world, and I'm certain that it is also relevant to the areas that are represented by our guests, such as IoT or AI, and then how they influence a variety of skills, including some skills like emotional intelligence that is so important in any academic field, or creativity. So it is very important to see how we can relay to those skills and trends, and how we can benefit from embracing some of it. And then why so? Because if you look at technology, indeed in the past it was changing how we do things, and now it is changing essentially who we are as human beings, how we do interact with artificial intelligence, how we will be able to embrace the robotic process automation, how we can link it to sustainability. And you will hear today about the sustainability challenge that Professor Ayonzo had developed, and will be speaking about it later on today. Now, the change is driven by a variety of elements, but those that I wanted to mention are here. And if you look at how the perception have changed, while the industry was evolving, some of the things that we've seen are absolutely extraordinary. Now what we really want to have is creativity versus just pure analytical skills. By the way, I'm conscious that we called our conference data analytics because of certain term that we're using. But if you ask Professor Machen, as I did prior to this conference, one of the pillars of this conference is related to creativity. It is what the rationality is being much more replaced by empathy. So if those are the characteristics that are evolving towards the fourth industrial revolution, then what it means is that what we need to do is we need to adopt in the academic world and make certain that we are educating young people that are well prepared for what's coming, such as creating together, looking into the consequences of what we do from the human perspective, and also being able to communicate complexity. I remember when I was previously a dean at the engineering school in Toronto, what we did is we introduced the principle of expressing yourself in one crisp page. It's very easy to write a compilation of 10 pages, but writing one page, it's so difficult because you really need to understand the subject in order to be able to do so. So I wanted to comment about how we see from our perspective skills for tomorrow. And I wanted to refer to, well, why so? Because you see, in the past, it was we got a job for life. It was a job, and then there was upwards trajectory, iterative. You were you were being promoted, and after so many years, you got a handshake and a golden watch or so just prior to retirement. Those are the careers here that you are going to have. Lots of unpredictability. So what is very, very important is to make certain that we are not educating people to get a job when they graduate. We are educating you to be employable. There is a big difference between employability and just getting a job. Employability means that you have to have not just skills, you have to have a mindset that is going to prepare you for a variety of jobs that you're going to have in your career. I wanted to refer to a recent report developed by Royal Bank of Canada. Yes, it's RBC, and I believe we have some colleagues from RBC here today. So it was presented by the CEO, and if you look at it, what are the skills that are going to, according to RBC, are going to prevail in the future? It's quite telling. Well, what's telling is the title of the report. The title is Humans Wanted. So yes, what's really important, listening, speaking, critical thinking, those are important, absolutely important things. Some other things will be replaced by AI, and such as quality control analysis and so on. By the way, I have to say that I presented this slide to my colleagues in the Faculty of Science. Well, they didn't like it that much because of one thing. You can see science is just down there. So the conclusion was that we are all humans, so we can all make mistakes, including our friends from RBC that perhaps did not appreciate science as much. Well, we'll see how it will evolve. But what was the overall consensus about is that those that you can see on the left, time management and so on, those are the skills that are really going to be important, which means that we have to adjust the way how we educate people. So how I look at the future of academia, I see at least our university, and perhaps other universities, becoming more so of multi-versities rather than universities, which means that we would need to give much more decision-making freedom, devolving those decisions from the center and making it more of diverse and different, and linking a variety of programs for the benefit of students rather than having too many silos in the academic world. So I would see that the future in academia is linking towards an open system of variety. Let me give you an example. At Brock, our aspiration is to develop a new engineering program. We are one of the very, very few universities in Canada, and especially in this province, without an engineering program, which perhaps it's better because it gives us an opportunity to develop something that is new, bold, different, but at the same time rigorous and demanding program. By the way, when I say different, you have to be different, but you cannot be odd. There's a very fine line between one and another. So in our case, we are going to develop a new engineering program in which we will educate a humanist engineer. Perhaps next time we will be happy to comment on what we really think about it. Now, let me share with you one last experience. By the way, if you want to do any change, it's not going to be easy. Or if you want to create something new, it's not going to be easy. This is to, from my own experience, to show you how people react to the same thing depending on their own experiences. So if you want to create something, you're going to have a lot of people that will that really try to help you for a variety of reasons, but you also going to have those who will try to undermine whatever we do. Actually, this is quite a realistic distribution. So whenever you want to do something new and different, you have to be prepared to work with people on all of those sides. Well, it's better to have more on the left of that drawing rather than on the right. But you see, and I remember when we were creating this new engineering program at another university, and I became it in, and then we were so passionate about it and a bit idealistic. We were pathologic optimists, so to speak, and I gave a speech to my faculty council, and it was entitled "Together We Can." It was at the time when President Obama was becoming a president and so on, so those were very interesting times. And then after just a few months, it was the reality kicked in, and I gave another presentation to my faculty, and the title was slightly different. You see, it was just, we have to do it. It's regardless what's happening out there, we really want to do it. Look, in the spirit of letting things to be done, I think it's time to formally begin our conference with an invited speaker. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share with you some of the things that are happening here at Brock, some of the things that we are passionate about, and we hope to see you next year at the 4th conference. Thank you so much.